was a lot. I mean, think about though 1985 in itself. Just think about all the movies that came out. Back to the Future, Return of the Living Dead, of course, Enemy Mine. Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome, Rocky IV, Pee Wee Herman,
Day of the Dead.
Yep, Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf.
Yeah, Rambo Part 2, Goonies, Legend, Weird Science, which is, hey, when I tell you there's something that's close to my heart, is that movie.
Weird Science?
Yeah, Weird Science. That's was totally my jam. But there was a lot of great stuff. So the fact that all those movies came out, and Return of the Living Dead still stands out. I think that says a lot because Fright Night isn't something that people talk about.
Breakfast Club.
And there's also, I really believe this, right? There was a group of sort of voracious media consumers during the 80s, and now those people have all kind of grown up into becoming or into the people who actually spend money on a lot more media too. Yeah. And there's a reason that Stranger Things does all of these throwbacks to the 80s and stuff. It's because it's not just nostalgic. There is a certain resonance that it just meets with people that feels comfortable, and especially people that like this kind of genre. It just feels like, oh yeah, this is the right niche.
Actually, when you mentioned Stranger Things, there's actually a mall, down here, in Atlanta that was kind of run down, and they've kind of refurbished it for that movie, and it's pretty cool. It's like the 80s. It's pretty dope.
Nice.
Like the late 80s type mall is pretty dope.
Well, I'll tell you, every decade has its nostalgia moment. Like in the 1970s, the big thing for them was the 1950s. They had this huge throwback. If you look at it, a lot of stuff that was going on in the 70s, your Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley's and all that, where everything was about the 1950s. Just before that, George Lucas's, oh my God, I cannot remember his non-Star Wars film, American Graffiti, and stuff like that were all throwbacks to the 1950s. And that was like a huge thing there. In the 80s, the 60s were very popular. If you look at that, was the resurgence. They brought back, they re-released Beatles stuff and everything like that, and they brought back videos from that and everything. So every decade has its, let's look back 20 years and and be fond of it and look at it. And there's always that nostalgia, seeing it's a simpler time, it's a different time. We'll remember these things and what we had then, and look at it now, and it's so different. I don't know if it's going to happen anymore though, because now we live in a period of like constant nostalgia, where everything's about nostalgia, and so you're doing recreations or anything. So what are you going to look back 20 years from now? Are you going to look at which remake you liked best?
Right, but I think that actually speaks to why the 80s have this sort of enduring legacy power. But also, just exactly what you said is that as those 20-year increments go by, people who don't have sort of the biggest economic power end up with the biggest economic power, and so they drive a lot of the content because, hey, we'll build it for this demographic, they'll go see it. So it works that way. But the 80s is weird because the 80s now has sort of almost a 30-year legacy, as opposed to a 20-year legacy, and that is actually, I think, a little bit different. So you're right.
It is a little bit.
A constant time of nostalgia.
Yeah, but now I think we're in nostalgia overload to the point where what are you going to say is unique about, let's say, this decade, that people are going to look back on this decade and say, oh, this is what I remember from this decade, that stood out. I don't know. There's a few things, not much. Maybe the found footage films, but that's going back to the 90s, so nothing big there. Television is not the same as what it used to be, where everyone would watch the same shows. Now it's all, bits and pieces. I guess it'll be memes.
That's one of the good things about this show having a 1990 cutoff is that, we won't have to be inundated with covering that stuff. So... I wonder how that got in there. That cutoff. All right, so I think we should get to this section of the show that we call movies that make the meal. I know that you have something good for us.
Okay,
Jen?
so this week in movies that make the meal, I actually did a kind of tribute to the Tarman zombie, and I made a very ooey gooey Tarman hot chocolate, and it's super easy to do. It takes a little bit of patience, but it's real easy. And we actually just enjoyed this the night before last, and really loved it. So. And we all sat around and talked 100% about zombie brains. So it really does work. Get in the mood, make some hot chocolate, and Kinte, you're going to post that link.
Oh yeah, it's already in the show notes. Tell us what it consists of.
The hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Well, it's a basic hot chocolate. I mean, it's not, there's nothing super special. It's just basic hot cocoa and you make the thing that makes this so good is really the chocolate tar, because the chocolate tar is something that most people don't make on their hot chocolate. They'll use maybe some chocolate syrup or whatever, but when you really pare down and let that chocolate syrup get a little bit more caramelized, it ends up being really thick stuff. So it makes your hot chocolate taste a lot, not just richer, but it gives it that sort of decadent taste to it. I guarantee that that's not the way that it would taste if you were to lick Tarman. Pretty sure.
I would hope no one would freaking lick Tarman.
I'm just going out on a limb, but I'm pretty sure now that's not what it would taste
I would hope that no one would lick Tarman, but
I don't know. I had my thoughts.
You're no, creepy. You're creepy. Oh boy.
I just had to throw that out there because of my love for, non-human humans.
Yes. All right, so the links are in the show notes, and you can check out how to make that dish. All right, and for those who may not know, just once again, tell them about the segment.
Well, Movies Make the Meal it's an ongoing project for me. I'm still uploading recipes. It's definitely a labor of love. But basically what I've done is paired together the movies that I have really liked or that people have requested meals for, and put them together, or put movies together with the meal. I'm sorry, the other way around. I put meals together with movies that people really like. In fact, we have something coming up for a bunch of different upcoming shows, different theme nights. We just finished doing The Walking Dead, where we have a zombie meatloaf and a couple of other sort of really gross sausage stuff, but it came out really awesome. So it's ongoing. There's stuff being developed constantly. Just bear with me.
Okay. All right. So at this point, let's get to our scores. And KingPengvin, tell the audience how the scoring works and what we vote on and all of that stuff. Uh-oh, did we lose you, King? Are you on mute?
I am. Sorry, I was just talking to myself here this entire time. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we do have our scores, which are based on a couple of different categories. First of all, being the production quality, which is basically the overall look and feel of the film. Is it cheap? Is it tawdry? Is it well made? Is it does it look like a big budget film with a small budget? Does it look like a piece of garbage with a large budget? Who knows? But this is the thing we're going to rate. We got to look at the story. Then we look at acting, and of course the overall entertainment value, and then we rate those all up to see whether it's a film that's Limburger or Gouda is the ranking, somewhere in between those two spaces. I also want to make note of one small thing before we do I forgot one note, which I had here. I kept forgetting, which says TV jacket. You may notice that Tommy had a jacket on in the later part of the film with the lovely inscription, "Fuck you," on the back.
Right.
Well, they also had to make a television version to go on, for television. They would cut. So they reshot some scenes where he wears a jacket and on the back says TV version. And so
that's great.
You can see which ones it is by what he's got written on the back of his jacket. Anyways, with that being said, let's go through and rank the films. Who wants to go first?
Jen, you want to go first?
Sure. Okay. So for the first, and I guess this is production value, I gave it an 8. I definitely liked it. The story, I gave a 6. Yeah. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't anything, yeah. Let's see. The acting, I only gave a 5. I'm not saying that like they didn't do it on purpose, but it just didn't quite. You could tell that it wasn't as serious as it probably maybe even should have been. But overall, entertainment value, I gave a 10. I would watch this movie 1,000 times and not be bored with it.
So you gave it a 10. Okay. All right.
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and dive in our production. I'm going to give it about an 8 as well. I thought that they did good with the amount of funds that they had, and I thought that everything that they did, worked enough for me to enjoy it a whole lot. Story, I mean, I'll give it a 5, but there were moments. One of the things that we were mentioning, talking about, the undead or the zombies actually telling you why they're doing something, so you actually know, why that they're doing it. So I give the story about a 5. The acting, I'm gonna give a 6 because it's just the goofiness, it just that pulls at my heartstrings. And I agree with you, Jen. It's it's actually my favorite, horror movie. I mentioned this to y'all before. It's just that I've always enjoyed it. I've watched it a ton. I could never not watch it. It just makes me happy. So I'm going to give it a 10 as well.
All right. 10.
All right. I'll go next. Production value. It's a $4 million film. And you'd think they did a lot of stuff on location. No, most of that stuff was all created, sets and everything, and like even the graveyard itself. None of that was real. They did such a good job that there's stuff there, little touches here that look really great. Even the crematorium was just a fake facade they created. In fact, it got so hot that the metal sheet that they had, that the tray, actually melted in the thing, because they could only put together tin. So I'm going to give it a little bit higher for production value, because I think they took the money that they had, they stretched it out and made it like awesome. We're talking about the tar man, the zombies there, the effect of the jar, the canister opening and the melting face. We know it's wax and everything, but such a well done job. I'm going to give it a 7 on production value. Story, I'm going to give it a 6. It moves. It knows where it's going. Yeah, it's the typical run here, run there, try to get to the phone. But it sort of knew where it was going, and it was just saying, yeah, no matter what these guys do, it doesn't matter. They're all dead anyway. And that's that sort of nihilistic punk attitude that the thing had. Acting, yeah, a 6 on that one as well. And I love the overacting, though. But let's face facts. It's none of it's Academy Award winning stuff, and there's a bit of stuff where you could see overdubs had to be done, and even they don't work. And the overall entertainment value is a solid 9. This is one of my favorite comedy horror films because it actually works. There have been quite a few comedy horror films that fall flat. They don't know how to balance things well enough. This one definitely does, and always entertains. It moves. There's not a moment there where I'm sitting there going, okay, come on, get to the next point. I'm enjoying every minute that there's something happening on screen.
All right. Okay, so with me, when it comes to production quality, I give it an 8. I thought, like you said, for $4 million budget in 1985, I thought it was really good. Very well done. Story, I gave it a 7 just because I gave it actually a little better than I think most of everybody else. Just because they had the Night of the Living Dead, and this just kind of took it in another direction. And I enjoyed that. I gave the acting, the acting a 7 as well, because the acting was cheesy as hell and corny, but it fit what was required of them, and I thought they just did a great job playing what they were doing, And the guy who does Suicide by Oven, I just loved him so much, and he's a great actor. And I just thought, I just thought that his performance in it just had me in stitches, just the way that he did it, and Clue as well. So I gave it a 7, and overall entertainment value I gave it a 9. So those are my scores. So doing the tally, we'll start off with Yardley. Yardley gave it a score of 29 when you add everything up. Jen gave it a 27. I gave it the highest score, which is 31. And wait, give me a second. And King gave the film a 28. So the overall total is 115. So 115 puts it in our Cinema de Fromage season 2 tally. It gives it the leading so far after the 2.
So it beat last week's, is what you're saying,
right? Pretty much. Omega Man got a 91, and Cinema de Fromage. I'm sorry. Return of the Living Dead. It got 115. So while you guys are talking, I will find out what that percentage is on the cheese meter. Okay.
Now, also forgot to do the. We have a 1-sentence description of the film is what you should do afterwards by saying Return of the Living Dead is, and in your own words, how you would describe the film to somebody with 1 sentence. So, Jen, why don't you start with that one? Because we forgot to do that at the end of the show.
I'm sorry, I totally missed you.
Remember, we have to do our 1-word description of the film.
Oh, 1-word description.
So it starts off with Return of the Living Dead is, and there you go.
How awesome.
There you go.
Awesome.
Simplest.
Yep, that's mine. Sorry, Yardley.
All right. Well, Return of the Living Dead is satisfying.
Return of the Living Dead is what brains are to the dead. They take the pain away.
I would say the Return of the Living Dead is pure 80s zombie wonderfulness, and it gets a 71% on the cheese meter.
Ooh, so. Take that, Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, so Charlton Heston can suck it, right?
Don't worry, he'll be back.
Oh, that's no, Conquest,
right? We haven't announced everything for this season.
Oh, okay, all right.
He makes a guest appearance in The Warriors. Just
cameo
in The Warriors.
He plays the Hestons, that terrifying New York gang.
So let's start off.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so we're going to let everyone know next week. What is our film for next week?
Is The Warriors. Classic.
Are y'all bopping y'all's way into people's hearts?
Yeah. You dig it?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
That's what's up.
And I have something really special for The Warriors. I gave this one a lot of thought. So
now,
you better have some baseball fury.
Now, I didn't come up with this as the movie. It was King, but The Warriors is one of my favorite movies. I have it on Blu-ray. I've seen it a bunch of times. I just love that film. So I even had the video game. So I can't find it though.
They need to bring that out on a new system? The Warriors,
right?
Because that was the first Xbox, right? Yeah.
It was.
I actually, I wanted to play it before since we're about to do it, and I'm gonna do my rewatch coming up. I really don't have to because I've seen it so much, but any excuse to watch The Warriors. So I'm already biased. So,
and then in 2 weeks we're going back to Well, not Charlton Heston, but we're going to the apes with Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. So stay tuned for those ones and more fun to come.
Oh, our special guest next week is Tachi. So so she's gonna come in and chop it up with us and talk some Warriors.
She's a Warriors fan, is she?
You know what? We didn't talk about that. She's a movie fan.
She will be.
She does reviews, and she has a review show that she does where they go back to like 50s and up. So yeah, they really go deep, you know. So yeah. So but she'll be great. She's a great guest. All right, so let's start off with Yardley. How can we get you in social media, and what should we be on the lookout for when it comes to you?
Hey, you can follow me on Twitter at militant_marker, and the next Creeping It Real show, we are going to be reviewing the movie Hereditary. I'm going to go and check it out. Well, I have to. I was supposed to have checked it out. I think it came out last week or the weekend that just passed, and I just never got a chance to. And seeing as it's my topic, I guess I have to go and watch it. So just tune in to Creeping.
You're gonna like it.
Oh yeah, you know what? I'm actually the last one. Chrissy and Moni have already seen it, and both of them have been kind of chatting without any spoilers in this thread that we have going on. So. I'm excited to check it out, but it seems like I'm gonna have to really, what is it, like 2.5 hours or something?
Yeah, it's a good long movie. You know, it goes by in a heartbeat, though.
Okay, that's what's up. So that'll be our topic on the next podcast, and you can find us on iTunes.
All right, Jen.
You can catch me on Twitter at followingbliss1, and you can check out my blog at Critical Laughs with 2Ls.com. I also do movie stuff and mostly TV stuff, but lots of movie stuff too. And of course, moviesmakethemeal.com.
Right. And King.
Oh, you know me. I'm nowhere and everywhere all at once. I'm watching, not putting out much, but you'll find me here next week. So watch for that.
Watch for that, okay.
All right. Listen, take your pick.
All right, and you can get me at Kinte F on Twitter, as well as you can go to our website, indyradio.org. That's INDY radio.org. Next week, we will be back, me, Yardley, and Jen, because we're going to be continuing our Black Sales series retrospective. So a bunch of good stuff coming up, and very excited about it. And you guys have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you next time right here on Indie Radio. God bless.